Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Oh, what an infuriating person she was. Karen needs to go back to the home so they can give her the nice, crazy meds and put the nice huggy jacket back on. Clearly, she escaped. Here we go. Karen demands service my company doesn't offer. I work part-time for a company that rents accessible vans for those peeps who need it due to being wheelchair-bound. Think Hertz or Enterprise of wheelchair-accessible vans? I've worked off and on with them for 4 years while I'm a 40-year-old female in school for my physician's assistant. I'm almost done with school. Woohoo! This job is a small company, family-run business, and my boss is an awesome boss. She, 99.9% of the time, knows that the customer is in the wrong as our calls are recorded. We get some of the most entitled people ever. A little backstory that's relevant and will come into play later. I was in the military and was severely injured while serving my country on deployment. This injury left me in a medically induced coma for 3 months while my broken back and neck healed, as well as a few holes in my body from shrapnel. It also unfortunately left me wheelchair-bound for several months after, as I regained my motor and neurological function. I literally had to teach myself with OT, PT, ST, and MT how to eat, speak in full sentences, write, etc. again. So I, out of anybody in my company, know what a great service this is. Now, on to my story. It's a call I received last night in the middle of the night. I work the mid-grave shift, and I'm basically on my own to make decisions, check the customers in and out, give them airport parking locations, help with customer problems and complaints, as well as explain to people who call we're not a non-medical transport company. I must get these calls 3 to 4 times a night every night I work. We actually rent the vehicle for someone to drive their loved one, friend, or whatever around. We're not open for reservations or anything other than getting the customers into the vehicle. It's basically an on-call position after 6 p.m. Monday through Sunday. It says this when you call the recording. So I can sleep, watch TV, whatever, as it's all remote positions. Last night, a lady calls at about 2:30 a.m. We'll call her Emergency Room Karen. Well, she says after I answer the phone call after being woken up, Karen, were you sleeping? How unprofessional. Me, excuse me? Ma'am, but I'm on a call remote position and am very much allowed to sleep. Karen, whatever, so I need someone to come pick me up, now. Me, knowing right away she thinks we're a transportation company, I'm sorry, but we don't offer that service, and tell her what we do offer. Karen, do not give me that crap. You just don't want to do your job. You need to get someone out here to pick me up at such and such ER now. I have COVID and C. diff, communicable and gross. Me. Ma'am, like I said, we don't offer that service. You need to ask the hospital for a number to a non-medical transport. Karen. Listen here, you little bee. Get someone here now. Google said you were a non-medical transport, and I want someone out to this ER now. This is when she drops the most disgusting statement ever. You don't know what it's like to be in a chair and have issues walking. Now get your butt in gear and get me that ride, you stupid idiot. Me. Ma'am, I'll be disconnecting this call. Have a good morning. I hang up. Less than 10 minutes later, she calls back. This time, she's found a security officer to help her. Security officer. Ma'am, this is Officer J with XYZ Medical Center and ER. The patient says that you called her a R, a word that's so messed up, and said she could wheel herself home for all you care, and a beaner. Me. Sir, no, that's not what went down. I filled him in and told him we record all our phone calls, and as I told her, we do not offer the service she's looking for. SO. Well, you need to find her a ride. This isn't our issue. You need to find her a ride now. Me. Actually, no, I don't, nor is it my responsibility to do so. He says he's going to call the police on me. I let him know, please be my guest and do so. He hands the phone to Karen. Karen, I need a ride now. I told you already, you don't understand what it's like to not be able to get in a regular car and go. I'm disabled and in a wheelchair. At this point, this is the 3rd time she's made this comment. Me. Ma'am, first off, we do not offer the service you're looking for. Secondly, you keep making a comment to me, I don't know what it's like to be in a chair. We are on the phone, you have no clue if I'm in a wheelchair or not, nor do you know if I've ever been in one. Not that I owe you the courtesy of an explanation, but I was in a wheelchair and I was clinically dead more than once. So you go ahead and call the cops. Hell, you could tell Jesus himself to try and tell me to come get you. It'll not change the fact we don't offer the services you need. I hang up and block her from our phone system. About 20 minutes later, a call from an unknown number calls. I think it's her again. Nope, this crazy chick somehow convinced the SO to call the police. Cops ask me what happened. I explain to him the whole story and tell him the calls are all recorded. He's more than welcome to listen to the recording, and he tells me that won't be necessary and to have a good night. I think this is the end of it, but of course it's not. My boss texts me today to call her, so I do. She asks what happened with that call last night. I tell her to listen to the recordings. She does, and I haven't heard anything else about Karen. This is just a taste of the types of crazy calls I get every night I work. Just something I didn't mention, in order for someone to get to me, they have to listen to a recording and hit extensions. This crazy Karen actually hit the urgent option that cuts into another call I'm on with an actual customer. And our next story. Refuse to give me my money? I refuse to let you make any. I owned a sign company. I received a phone call from someone at a local mall. He was opening a restaurant in the food court. The catch was he wanted to be open in 2 weeks for Black Friday, the busiest shopping day of the year. I met with him and mall management at the same time so that we could discuss ideas and get approval at the same time to speed up production. Got everything okayed, from his big overhead backlit menu sign, smaller signs on both walls, and signs for both registers. All in all, it was going to be a pretty large order. I typically get a 50% deposit, but the customer said something about international money transfers, and the mall management jumped right in to explain that payments were taking a couple of weeks to process, but everything they'd charged him had been paid. Because I'd been doing a lot of work in the mall and I was trying to help them get this guy open, I agreed to do it without the deposit. I did layouts, he approved them. I showed him samples, he approved them. I got everything finished and installed the Tuesday before he needed them. That's when things went downhill fast. He immediately started complaining that the material was wrong, even though he'd seen samples, and it wasn't what he wanted. Then he complained that the graphics were wrong, even though he'd approved them. He complained that the prices were wrong, even though they all matched the menu he provided. Wednesday afternoon, I called him again and his wife answered. She cheerfully told me that I could take down my damn signs. They weren't paying for them. They had ordered signs cheaper from someone else, but they couldn't get them ready in time, and as soon as the other signs were ready, mine were going in the trash. So realizing that I'd screwed myself by doing the job without a deposit, I hung everything on her little side comment that I could take down my damn signs. Thursday, I had a delightful Thanksgiving lunch with my family. We watched football, laughed, enjoyed the day. I took my wife and kids home, loaded up the ladder, and joyfully went to the mall. I'd done enough after-hours work at the mall that I knew there'd be a door open somewhere and people in the large stores getting ready for the Black Friday crowds. I went in, tossed my ladder over the restaurant counter, and started taking down the signs. A couple of merchants in the mall asked me if the place was already closing. I told them the story, and the next thing I know, they're trying to help me take down the signs. In 30 minutes, the place went from looking like a fully opened, ready-to-rock restaurant to looking closed. I went home and slept like a baby. When I turned on my phone at 7:30 on Black Friday, I already had 15 missed phone calls from the restaurant owner, his wife, and the mall management. I called the mall management, and they weren't happy. I told them the whole story. They still weren't happy with me, but they understood. I waited 15 minutes before the restaurant owner called, screaming in the phone, demanding that I return with the signs. I politely told him that I needed the full amount plus the cost of reinstallation plus an extra $50 for working on an off day. He screamed at me. I hung up. He called back once more, demanding that I bring them back and he would pay me the next week. I said no, I needed cash. He screamed at me again. I hung up. I avoided the mall because screw Black Friday, but from what I hear, it was comical. His entire backlit sign was nothing but lit up bulbs. He'd handwritten a menu on an old box and taped it to the front counter. Every restaurant in the food court was slammed all day, and nobody would even take his free samples. He closed mid-afternoon after realizing nobody was going to buy. He went through the entire shopping weekend with no signs and no business. The best part was that 2 weeks later, when his new signs from India finally arrived, they were the wrong size. Screw you, Mr. Restaurant Owner, for ordering signs from me that you knew you weren't going to pay for because you'd already ordered them from someone else. And our next story. My cousin has decided that the house belongs to him. My dad let my cousin, his wife, and 5 kids live in his home in Kentucky since April 2020. Before they lived there, this home was mainly rented out as a cabin or Airbnb for tourists. My dad went home for Christmas and was shocked at the state of the home. It was falling apart. He and my mom can't discuss the property because when they do, it turns into a huge fight. I grabbed my sister. She's a lawyer, and I head to Kentucky for this nightmare. We haven't been back there in years. We get a local inspector to come to the property, and my cousin's like, "This is our home," and wouldn't let us in. We had to get a judge to intervene on our behalf and have my dad fly out. The property is now being condemned for its rodent-infested damages. My dad has to bulldoze the property and sell the land. My cousin and his family are going to be homeless. My grandma's crying almost every day, but she doesn't have the means to house my cousin. His parents don't, and my family are not after the damages he's done. I don't care that he has nowhere to live. I told my cousin if he couldn't feed them, he shouldn't breed them. And good luck, because I'm sure the government will help you out. My dad's family thinks we're heartless a-holes, but grown but adults should be able to raise their kids. Because of my dad's generosity, aka stupidity, my parents' marriage is falling apart. And our last story. About that time off? No. It's that time of year for shift changes because the holidays are approaching and everyone wants time off. I have seniority on holidays, but all my family is in town and I don't have kids, so I don't mind trading. The last 8 years, I've traded the day after Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, and New Year's Eve when asked. Plus, I'm usually on call because other coworkers leave town. One employee, who I'll call Jerkface, is usually the one I trade with as he goes out of town with his kids to the grandparents' house 8 hours away. Recently, a promotion opportunity came up, and Jerkface and I both applied. I got the job. Jerkface has been bad-mouthing me behind my back, saying I didn't really deserve the job and must have flirted my way to the position, when in reality, he wasn't qualified, doesn't have any of the industry certs needed, and has dropped the ball on so many projects he wasn't even in the running. I get it. You're jealous, Jerkface. Whatever. I'm happy enough to ignore his rumor-mongering. Yesterday, our secretary started putting up these shift trades, and I noticed Jerkface had traded with me for Thanksgiving and Christmas without asking. I told the secretary there must be some sort of mistake because I didn't authorize a trade and was planning to take those days off. She called Jerkface from his office, and he said he always gets those days off, so I must be joking. I said I was not. Jerkface told me I didn't deserve my time off as much as he does because family time is more important to him. So my husband, parents, sister, brother-in-law, and nieces are not important to me? Game on. So, I went to talk with the boss man. Jerkface was being a jerk, saying how I always switched with him because I don't care about the holidays, nor do I need them. So we should make this switch permanent. I said I don't mind covering for people, but I've covered for the last 8 years and was looking forward to a break. The boss man reiterated that by my generosity only, Jerkface has had all holidays he wanted off for all of his 5 years of employment, and that I was due my turn this year. It was also pointed out that Jerkface has never been on call during the holidays, so this year would have been his turn for fairness. Boss man smiled at me, said to enjoy my well-deserved time off, asked Jerkface to stay behind, and had me close the door on my way out. Point, set, match. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.